What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Justin Gaethje confident in a fight against Islam Makhachev. Way back in 2020, Justin Gaethje fought Khabib Nurmagomedov for the lightweight title in what ended up being Khabib's final fight in MMA. While the fight didn't go Gaethje's way, as he explained in the Q&A for his YouTube channel, he isn't sure whether there was anything he could have done to get the win that night. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Despite coming up short against Khabib, Gaethje said that he believes he matches up better with Islam Makhachev, and because of that, a fight with the champion is his dream fight.
Who's the toughest opponent you have ever faced? I think Khabib was probably the one who I felt, even if I performed better, I'm not sure that I could have beat him on that night specifically. So that night that I fought Khabib, I would say that he was my toughest opponent to date. Who's your dream opponent? I want to fight Makhachev. He's the champ. And I do believe that is a better matchup for me than Khabib, but he's good.
On top of getting asked about his dream fight, Gaethje was also asked about his toughest fight mentally. And surprisingly, he said that because he never imagined fighting Max Holloway, it was hard to prepare himself mentally to throw down with Holloway at UFC 300. I think the Max fight was a very difficult fight mentally for me because he's a 145-pounder. I'd never ever pictured or dreamt or thought that I would ever fight him. And then, when it came along, it was really a mental challenge to get myself there. And yeah, that was a tough one. Also, the Oliveira fight was a tough one. Wrecked my bike 18 days before. With Holloway permanently moving up to 155 after his loss to Ilia Topuria, depending on how things play out between Justin Gaethje and Dan Hooker, there may be an opportunity for a Gaethje-Holloway 2 fight down the line, if Gaethje wants to avenge his loss. Belal Muhammad would vacate belt for Islam Makhachev rather than fight him. Islam Makhachev made it clear that before he calls it a career, he wants to win a second title. Heck, he even said he wants to be the first fighter with 3 belts. The problem, of course, is that his teammate Belal Muhammad is sitting atop the welterweight division. Given that the two don't want to fight each other, the only real solution would be for Makhachev to move up to 185. However, Dana White doesn't really seem to be on board with the idea. According to Belal Muhammad, Makhachev won't have to move up to middleweight because if the scenario of Islam wanting to fight at 170 presented itself, he would be willing to vacate the belt for his teammate. During an interview with Barstool Chicago, Belal explained,
I would never fight Islam because that's different. For me and him,
I know it is, right?
We've trained together, right. And you know, when you're sweating with somebody, it's just a different relationship. Like, it wouldn't be about money for me or for him, I don't assume. So like, I would never want to do that. And like, they've helped me so much. So for me, I would rather go up to 185 and let him just take 170 if that's the case. And like, since I've already had to fight my way up to 170 and I've been top 10 guys, like, I'm 2 fights away from being able to challenge that 185 and saying, hey, I want to be double champ. Like, I think 185 is probably the easiest weight class besides Hamzat. Like, when you look at that main event this weekend,
an animal, yeah.
You're like, bro, Strickland and Duplessis suck.
If Muhammad is serious about moving up after another 2 fights, the question becomes, who else besides Shavkat Rakhmonov does he fight at 170 before vacating the title and moving up? If Belal wins against Shavkat, who could be next? The most logical situation would likely be the winner of the Leon Edwards versus Jack Della Maddalena fight. However, Belal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman have been taking shots at one another for a while now. With the infamous pound-for-pound podcast of Belal making Usman emotional has not been released, the feud between the two keeps heating up. But it's important to note that Kamaru Usman is on a 3-fight losing streak, with 2 of those fights being for the belt, and his last loss was against Khamzat Chimaev on short notice. With Belal making these comments, Joaquin Buckley reacted to his comment during a recent YouTube video. Make sure to go check out Buckley's channel for more amazing content. Buckley is currently ranked number 6 in the welterweight rankings, and this is what he had to say to Belal.
I'm gonna just warn you right now. You don't have the tools nor the weapons to beat a person like Dricus. You're not gonna be able to take Buddy down. I'm just saying, I'm just being honest with you, bro. Nor will you be able to knock him out with them pillow hands. And no matter how much you think that I can see all the holes in this game, even if you beating up Dricus, like I said before, he's just gonna keep coming and coming and coming, and he ain't gonna stop. When you a 170 fighter, if you moving up in a different weight class, bro, I'm telling you, bro, they hit a little bit different up there, bro. Trust me, I know. That's why my down to 170, I swear to God.
Based on what Islam Makhachev said leading up to his fight with Renato Moicano, he and Muhammad have time to figure things out because he doesn't plan on retiring anytime soon. Conor McGregor appealing civil case. After being found liable for his civil case by a jury back in November, Conor McGregor is following through on his promise to appeal the ruling. While he wasn't found guilty, the ruling was enough that he was dropped by Proper 12 as the public figure, and even the Hitman game. Additionally, amid protests against him in Ireland, McGregor had beverages such as his forged Irish stout removed from shelves. According to the BBC, last Friday, McGregor, who has continued to maintain his innocence despite the ruling, filed an appeal. If McGregor wins the appeal, he would no longer owe Nikita Hand the 248,000 euros or 259,000 US dollars that he was ordered to pay for damages, or the money he was ordered to pay towards Hand's legal fees. Could this possibly restore Conor McGregor's image in the public eye? Or has the damage been done to his reputation for good? Nikita Hand did stop the CCTV footage of that night from coming out to the public, and the court forced Conor McGregor to hand over all copies of the tapes. So we'll see where things go from here. In the meantime, Conor's continued to promote BKFC while teasing an eventual move to bare-knuckle boxing before his fighting career is over. UFC updates. Heading into this weekend's UFC Seattle card, let's take a look at today's UFC updates, starting with a last-minute change to the upcoming UFC 313 card on the 8th. Bruno Silva has been forced out of his fight with Joshua Van. As a result, the UFC has tapped Ray Tsuruya to step in on short notice. Tsuruya enters the fight after a win in his UFC debut back in June, which pushed his record to 9-0, while Van is in the middle of a 2-fight winning streak. We've also got some news about the one and only Miesha Tate, who's set to return to action on May 3rd against Yana Santos, formerly known as Yana Kunitskaya. Tate announced the fight on her Instagram, writing, "It's official, May 3rd versus Yana Santos. I've still got what it takes, and if you doubt me, please stick around. Mark your calendar." Tate hasn't fought since a late 2023 win over Julia Avila, while on the flip side, Santos coming off a win over Chelsea Chandler, which snapped a 3-fight skid. The following weekend, Nora Cornell has been booked to fight Haley Cowan on the UFC 315 card. Cornell is fresh off her first professional loss back in September, while on the flip side, Cowan hasn't fought since a loss back in early 2023. According to Alex Behunin, the GFL has also booked a trilogy fight between Henan Barao and Uriah Faber. So far, no word on when the fight will happen. However, the promotion is expected to announce details this week. Barao hasn't won a fight since 2016 and has gone 0-7 since, while Faber's been competing in jiu-jitsu lately, but he's not fought in MMA since 2019 when he lost to Peter Yan. MMA community reacts to Colby Covington roasting Jon Jones at UFC PI. While Colby Covington's planning on getting back in the octagon within the next few months, the former interim champ has been staying engaged with his fans by live streaming. During a recent live stream at the UFC PI, Covington took a jab at Jon Jones, referencing an incident from way back before the UFC partnered with USADA in 2015, where he hid under the octagon at Jackson Wink to avoid NSAC testers. The story had been an urban legend of sorts for years, up until Jones himself confirmed it in 2020, admitting that right before the testers showed up, he had, shall we say, smoked something that made him paranoid, and because of it, decided to hide when testers showed up.
Oh, you know what this boxing ring just reminded me of, guys? We should probably look under it to see if Jon Jones is there, just like when he hid there from USADA. Guys, let's go look if Jon Jones is there. Johnny boy! Johnny, are you here? Are you here, John? John, are you hiding from USADA and the doping agency? John, are you under there? Are you still fairing your steroid test? Sorry, guys. I thought Jon Jones would be there. He loves to hide under rings so much. Guys, it's
The MMA community was quick to react to the clip, and many fans were not amused. If you're not winning, you shouldn't be making this kind of content. Another joked, he's working overtime trying to stay relevant. Maybe he should try spending his time training to not lose his next fight. One member of the MMA community replied, "How does anyone find this guy entertaining? Recycled jokes delivered badly." Another took aim at Covington's recent skid. "This type of skid just not it when you haven't won in 4 years." Some fans don't find Covington's shtick entertaining. You gotta be under 15 to find this clown entertaining, trying his absolute hardest to hold on to any form of relevance. So far, no word yet on who Covington will fight next, but it sounds like Gilbert Burns and Michael Chiesa are the two frontrunners. UFC Fighter retires from MMA. After a decision loss to Nurullo Aliev back in January, which made it 3 losses in a row, MMA veteran Joe Selecki has decided to call it a career. The Dana White's Contender Series alum, who earned his way into the UFC with a first-round submission victory back during the 2019 season, took to Instagram announcing that after 10 years in the sport, he was hanging up his gloves. Today, after chasing this dream for 10 years, I'm officially retiring from the sport of MMA. I started this endeavor as a kid with a dream of making it to the UFC. It then grew into so many more goals and dreams, some of which I achieved and others where I fell short. In a way, despite falling short at times, especially this past year, I lived my movie. Competing at the highest level in the UFC and grinding it out on the regional circuit to make it to the top have taught me more life lessons and things about myself. Hard work and determination than I ever could have imagined. I won't be far away from the sport as I look forward to being on the mats every day, both training still and coaching the next generation of martial artists at Gym O. I hope to play a small part in helping others experience these same things I mentioned above in their own lives, and you will certainly be seeing me competing and grappling soon, as competition will always be a part of me. Thank you so much to my incredible wife who's been with me every step of the way from the first time I laced up a pair of gloves to my kids who along the way became my new why. Thank you so much to my coaches, teammates, and everyone who supported me so much. Thank you everyone for all your support throughout the years on this ride. It's been nothing short of incredible. Selecki leaves the UFC with a promotional record of 5-4 and a professional record of 13-6. His most recent victory was a second-round submission win over Carl Deaton back in early 2023 that earned him a Performance of the Night bonus. Since then, he had dropped 3 straight. UFC 313 will be Alex Pereira's last light heavyweight fight. At UFC 313, Alex Pereira will look to make it 4 title defenses in a row when he faces off with Magomed Ankalaev. While Pereira's already shown interest in a fight with Dricus du Plessis, according to Chael Sonnen, the fight with Ankalaev will actually be Pereira's last fight at 205. During a video for his YouTube channel, Chael Sonnen said, win or lose at UFC 313, Pereira is going to be moving up to heavyweight. Although the expectation is that if Jon Jones fights again, it'll be a title unification bout with Tom Aspinall, with the heavyweight champion calling for a super fight with Pereira, Sonnen thinks that it's only a matter of time before he moves up. If Pereira wins, he's going to be looking for something else to do, and if Pereira loses, he's gone. I feel like many of you have forgotten how Pereira got to 205 pounds. He did not get to 205 by cleaning out 185. He got to 205 by losing at 185. That's what opened the door. No belt, no vacate, a move right up. So no matter what happens after Ankalaev, things are going to be very different for Pereira. I predict he's moving up, and the ticking time bomb of Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall carrying this on and dragging this out, that time bomb reaches midnight as soon as Pereira is done with his piece of business with Ankalaev, win or lose. Of course, in the past, Pereira said that his focus is on defending his title, not moving up. Regardless of what division Pereira is fighting at, Justin Gaethje, who was asked during his Q&A who his favorite fighter to watch is, his answer might surprise some people.
Who's my favorite fighter to watch presently? I think Pereira. Pereira's pretty consistent. He gets knocked out, Adesanya comes back. It's a great, some inspiration for me to see someone, really come through that and come out on top. So
when the UFC returns to Vegas for UFC 313, the stakes couldn't be higher for either fighter. Concerns rise for Alex Pereira ahead of UFC 313. Daniel Cormier is concerned for Alex Pereira after running into Magomed Ankalaev at the UFC PI. According to Cormier, Magomed is locked in and training for his match against Alex, where DC thinks that Alex isn't taking the fight seriously. He's claiming that Alex is still in Australia instead of training and is occupied with other things like going to Drake concerts, doing public interviews in venues, and more. Whereas Magomed has been locked in for the past few months training for this fight. DC and Chael Sonnen are saying that Alex Pereira needs to take Magomed more seriously, and things are not going to look good for him. Here's what they had to say on the Good Guy Bad Guy show on ESPN MMA.
We spoke about this 2 weeks ago, and now my concern level is even higher. This dude was seen in Australia last week still, and he was shaking the hand of Drake. But what is Pereira still doing in Australia, Chael? He fights in 2 weeks.
It's concerning to me. I mean, the whole thing is very concerning. It's tough on the road. You can get that training session in, but it usually involves a treadmill at the hotel lobby. Maybe you and your coach clear a little bit of space, even in your room, and you do a mitt workout. It's not the same. Talking about Pierre, he's a 2-1 underdog.
He's the dog in this fight, Pereira is?
Underdog.
That's a big one. And Ankalaev is already here. He's in Vegas. I ran into him at the PI last week. He is honestly so locked in. Pereira better get home. He needs to get home right now. He's gonna have to deal with all that travel and all that difference in time. And where's Glover? Glover Teixeira is the guy, honestly, that should be doing the most work with Alex right now because of the wrestling.
And on the topic of Magomed, it looks like Alexander Volkov has joined him in preparing for UFC 313. Who do you guys see winning at UFC 313? Let us know down in the comment section below.